Mr. Harsh Pati Singhania, President AIMA, Mr. SY Siddique, Chairman AIMA Core Committee on HR and Executive Advisor Maruti Suzuki India Limited, Manu Wadhwa, who I've just had the pleasure of meeting and who's been a great support for this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to have you all with us today, and I wish you a very warm welcome to AIMA's HRM Conclave 2021. Mr. Singhania, many thanks for joining us today and for agreeing to deliver the inaugural address of the conclave. An outstanding CEO and a keen management thinker, you have your finger on the pulse of a changing world order. As the head of a multifaceted conglomerate, you're involved in transforming organization capabilities and culture, and it is our privilege that you have agreed to share your observations and ideas with us. It's a pleasure to have you with us and a very warm welcome to you. Mrs. Siddiqui, HR Expert Committee, you have played a key role in shaping this conclave and helping AIMA bring together the country's best HR minds on this platform. You're a doyen of Indian HR, and your contribution to the creation of Maruti Suzuki phenomenon is second to none. It's a pleasure to have you and a very warm welcome to you. Manu, a very, very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for leading this effort. You've done a phenomenal job, and AIMA is privileged to be associated with you. I hope we'll keep this association going as we move on. Ladies and gentlemen, the two-day HRM Conclave aims to create an opportunity for the HR leaders to share experiences and insights. The COVID crisis has transformed the world, and HR leaders need to refresh their thinking, knowledge, and skills to help their companies do well in the new world order. The program of this conclave reflects the new challenges and opportunities for the HR function, and I'm sure that everyone will enjoy the discussions over the next 2 days. The HR function has been at the crossroads for some time now. However, HR has proved critical to business continuity and transformation during the pandemic and lockdowns. HR has risen to the occasion and helped organizations keep operating despite unprecedented challenges. HR has played a vital role in the swift switchover to remote work. Now, as the world moves towards hybrid, HR has come up with new job and organization designs and processes to give their companies the best chance in the new world order. During the past year, the business landscape has been changed by accelerated digitization and automation, and HR has had to reinvent itself to fit the new multidimensional world of work. New ways of acquiring, developing, retaining, and engaging workforce are required. In fact, the concept of employee-employer relationship has been revolutionized by mainstreaming of remote work. HR faces new demands from business leaders, and it is a perfect opportunity for HR to show its transformational capabilities. The agenda of the conclave covers nearly every facet of change, and we have a lineup of outstanding speakers from the entire spectrum of business to delve into the various HR issues. I'm confident that you will enjoy the conclave and find useful takeaways. With these words, it's a pleasure to welcome you all once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. May I request Mr. SY Siddique, Chairman, AIMA Core Committee on HR and Executive Advisor, Maruti Suzuki India Limited, to deliver his remarks, please.
Thank you, Soumya. Ms. Rekha, Sethi, and Manu, of course, Manu Wadhwa, Mr. Harsh Pati Singhania, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. We are very, very privileged to have Mr. Singhania part of this inaugural session. So big thanks to Mr. Singhania for agreeing to be spending some time with us. I think we'll be benefiting out of his valuable experience as the CEO of a large conglomerate, as Rekha said. While I am looking at setting the context for this conference briefly, I think the first thing which comes to my mind, what we discuss at the board level in our company at Maruti, is the kind of business environment which we are likely to face over the next 2-3 years. And then perhaps look at slightly longer term perspective. I think what comes out is that we will continue to have this kind of a volatile, uncertain, maybe complex and very turbulent kind of business environment. And I'll be talking about it a little bit, part of this little context setting. Digital will have a say, and digital is going to stay. That's a very, very clear perspective. And I think during the pandemic, By default, it got accelerated in terms of all of us realizing this potential in a big way. Now, globalization, we have been conscious, but now we should be preparing for reverse globalization. So there will be focus on kind of localization efforts because we have this China dilemma, whether to do business, not to do business with them, mergers, alliances, currency wars, fuel prices we are all experiencing what's happening, fading out of fossil fuel cars, transition to maybe hybrid electric vehicles, HR, maybe talent perspective, new employment contracts, emergence of gig workforce, maybe increasing trend of temp manpower, and maybe fixed term employment. COVID-19 threat and the challenge of reboot recovery continues. We are looking at Indian, maybe economic growth getting a little stronger. That's the forecast. But perhaps global cues are still very, very uncertain. So there will be this kind of turbulence in which we are going to look at human resource transformation. I'm sure there will be opportunities also while we talk of this turbulence. I will also quickly talk to you about few top global talent trends, which is in our thinking very clearly visible. One, purpose over process. Perhaps when we are looking at purpose-driven leadership, I think it will be more important than ever in future. As leaders will aim to create agile and adaptable cultures, maybe the shared goal, the shared purpose becomes the unifier. Successful leaders must relinquish control of process and rather look at empowering their teams, their people, and relying more on a shared goal or shared purpose to guide their decision making. Second, reskilling for the future. Big transformation. Perhaps the continuous learning will dominate over talent potential. Earlier, we used to say this kind of talent is required. Now, I think we'll be looking at this learning capacity as HR will move forward into this transformation. And to a great extent, reskilling not just once, but over and over again will be the norm of the day. Third principle, don't stand still. I think that's the trend which we are seeing. Leading organizations are and will continue to be in a state of continual transformation. Jobs and structures, both, will be continuously looking at honing to promote agility, scalability at every level. And therefore, perhaps standing still is outdated. And with every strategic change, leaders will be needing to reassess and, where necessary, realign culture to drive the execution. The best part, what I'm talking is the fourth one, is we'll have to learn selectively deleting the past. Let go. Very difficult, very tough in actual life, and especially in professional life. We'll have to create new storage space with flexibility and embracing change with an open mind. Perhaps when I am looking at specific to human resources, the kind of transformation which we are looking at inevitable, I think the few basic principles I would like to discuss first. I think many companies have now realized post pandemic, people first will be defining our approach in this transformation for HR. Health and well being will become very critical for performance, for business growth, and sustained business growth. Learning capacity will be a critical factor over talent aspect, as I said earlier. Short term pain for long term gain should be the principle for this kind of transformation, which I'm talking of. Five critical variables in my thinking. Not only change, but strategic HR transformation we should be preparing for mentally and also execution wise. Openness, flexibility, and out of box thinking is going to be the norm in HR. This, ageless policies existing for many years, outdated in my thinking. HR tech, digital acceleration will be an essential prerequisite. As I said, digital is going to have a stay and digital is going to have a state, long one. Redefining the leadership DNA, maybe deleting the stereotypes and encompassing the new normal. Some examples are there, like distributed leadership, compassionate leadership. That may become dominant factor in driving people, their motivation, their performance. HR, last but not the least, fifth factor, HR to be a business function. Deliver measurable value add to business and people. I think this staff function, isolated identity, support function is all outdated. When we are looking at this HR playbook to reimagine the new world order, I think great credit to Manu for bringing in an excellent, exciting concept looking at this HR transformation. It will be basically a playbook format, masterclass kind of approach to specific HR subsystems, what we will do over the next 2 days. HR leaders sharing crisp real-time experience and actual learning. Program design may be laying high focus on participation and interaction with the delegates. That's what our core team thought. And perhaps when we are looking at the key sessions, decoding the new world order, I think we'll be listening a real good high-class performer, top professional, Mr. Mohandas Pai. Workforce planning, talent management, rewards and benefit strategies, and culture. Another important facet will be being productive and happy in the new world order. How do we do that? Very tough. But I think we'll be having a great speaker there to look at some perspective, new perspective. And I'm very sure it will be an absorbing and exciting deliberation on these interesting HR perspectives over 2.5 days. My warm thanks and gratitude to my core team and also to AIMA HR committee, members who have been, especially Neeraj and his team. And big thanks to Manu for being part of this excellent design for this AIMA HR conclave. And maybe perhaps when we are looking at all the HR fraternity friends, leaders who have accepted to be part of this AIMA HR conclave, my big thanks and gratitude to all of them. So I wish you all the very best, and I'll be available all throughout. So let us see for this very exciting journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siddiqui, for sharing your thoughts and setting the context for AIMA's HR Playbook. May I now request Mr. Harsh Pati Singhania, President AIMA and Vice Chairman and Managing Director, JK Paper Limited, to deliver the inaugural address, please.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Siddiqui, Chairman, AIMA Core Committee on HR, and of course, Executive Advisor, Maruti, Suzuki, Rekha, Sethi, Ms. Manu Vadwa, all gathered HR professionals, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Siddiqui Sahab, at the outset, you have said whatever I thought I would say. So I was looking at my notes and I was wondering if there was anything more I could add. But so first caveat is that people who are listening to me might find this repetitive, but I would say that you kindly look at it from the perspective that these are the new essentials and therefore they need to be reiterated till they rightly get into our DNA. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. And Siddiqui Sahab, once again, many thanks for chairing the conclave and helping put AIMA together and an outstanding ensemble of speakers and participants. You are one of the most recognized HR leaders in the country, and you have made an outstanding contribution to the iconic success of Maruti Suzuki. AIMA is privileged to have you as a leader of his core committee on HR management, and we all appreciate your guidance in putting together this program. Thank you for your help. Well, before I start my formal remarks, let me make one observation. That if we look at the lockdown situation, when I reflect back on what happened in our organization, in the JK organization, it was really HR that was the first mover. So we are all confronted with this, or confounded with the lockdown, if I may say, and everybody didn't know. And nobody, our HR actually put together very quickly a group consisting of all the senior management across our countries, the director in charges and the HR professionals to discuss. And so we had Zoom calls to discuss, what is to be done. How are we going to run our businesses? How are we going to run people? What are the new policies that the government has come up with? What are the guidelines? And so on and so forth. And that became sort of the way forward. And from that emerged other subgroups of HR and other people, and actually other functional people who would exchange notes. So, for example, production or sales or marketing amongst themselves to talk about. So the point I want to emphasize is that HR was the first mover when you would have expected maybe some CEOs to react. The second point that Siddiqui Sahab, you made, that HR, and this is a long-standing point, that HR not just has to be seen, but it is a business function. And here, with this response, it was a business response. So I just want to underline that point before I proceed with this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this HRM conclave is very timely as companies are trying to cope with the changed business reality and rebuild after this COVID shock. During the past year, a lot of the work in commerce that has gone into the virtual mode and the fundamentals of workplace and employee contract have changed. Technology is transforming the way we do things, and stakeholders expect companies to deliver more mindful outcomes. Over the course of the next few years, companies would need new skills, tools, structures, and cultures. And HR would be expected to contribute both at the strategic and at the implementation levels. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for HR leaders to drive business strategy. Companies would need new organization structures and talent pools to fulfill the customers' changed expectations. Customers now want total solutions to their problems and not just mere products or services. And they also want everything quickly, cheaply, hygienically, right at their doorstep. They expect companies to understand their complex needs and even anticipate what they want next. And they want a satisfying experience in both offline and online worlds. On top of all this, they want companies to be socially and environmentally sensitive and also politically correct. All this implies that companies can no longer just aim at getting things produced and delivered efficiently. They need to build a culture, and I emphasize the word culture, that blends the latest technological skills, commercial acumen, social and political nous of empathy. HR, therefore, has to reinvent itself to match the organizational character and capability with that of the new customer experience, expectations, howsoever demanding it might seem. HR's own customers are no longer just the company's bosses, but are no longer the bosses and employees, but indeed the entire stakeholders. At the same time, HR needs to redesign the work and workplace experience and dovetail it with the redesigned customer, investor, and regulatory experience. Without this synchronization, companies will struggle to build competitive advantages for the next decade and beyond. It is time for HR to deliver the requisite talent, team structures, work and collaborative processes, and the right leadership at all levels. This is, ladies and gentlemen, a moment of reckoning for HR. In a digital-first world, which my previous speakers have talked about, HR has the responsibility to create value through appropriate skilling and hiring. During the next year or so, perhaps HR's biggest challenge would be to retrain, re-equip, and reorient the existing workforce for the new kind of work, roles, communication, collaboration, and competition. HR has to quickly redevelop and redeploy the existing workforce for a faster business transformation. At the same time, it has to identify and acquire the critical and still rare technology and data talent that would be needed to prosper in the post-COVID era. The hiring and skilling efforts have to be aimed at autonomous workers so that business can function at greater speed and achieve greater immunity to local and hierarchical disruptions. Technology-enabled autonomous workforce is now vital for aligning business with the digital-first marketplace. Employment patterns and contracts have to change as the remote work arrangements become routine. People do not want to reach the same location at the same time for work to happen. In many cases, some people do not want to do it at all. A lot of people in high-value jobs are trying to stay away from the polluted and congested business districts for their sake of physical and mental health. Also, the time that is required in all these commutes. Companies, therefore, need to realize that they can access cheaper or better talent from other places. HR has to learn to build and manage distributed or network organizations. Yes, it increases complexity and risks, but with new technologies such as cloud platforms and AI, it should be possible to overcome the nervousness about remote supervision and engagement. HR has also got the opportunity to build teams at unprecedented scale with a specialty mix to undertake large and complex assignments. Now, super teams can transplant location-defined profit centers and shorten the distance between frontline and the headquarters. It also has to learn to build and engage a new workforce mix consisting of fixed employees and gig workers. As work is freed from office, companies would want to involve non-employees in both volume and the value work for the sake of becoming asset light and for accessing scarce talent. The Uberization, if I can call it, of white-collar work requires HR to develop new toolkits for managing the insiders and outsiders. HR has to let go of the notion of employees and contractors. Instead, it needs to think in terms of workforce. It needs to develop new protocols for assigning work, role, and accountability. It has to enable gig workers to work alongside regular employees and also engage them those who would have to be treated nearly at par with the employees. Therefore, HR has to go digital in order to enable business and organizational transformation. People analytics is going to be a way to go as the ability to collect and process data increases. Company leaders will have to invest in digitalization and automation of HR in order to get the best out of their talent pool. The COVID crisis has accelerated technology adoption in HR and increasingly relied on cloud, AI, mobile, social, and analytic technologies to keep work going. These measures now have to be normalized and integrated with business strategy and operations. HR has to be available to employees round the clock now, which means learning to use AI for personalization, communication, information sharing, engagement, and other routine processes. In the new data-driven world order, appraisals and redressals cannot wait. They have to be available on demand to both employees and to their bosses. However, notwithstanding the increasing role for technology, HR will always be about people. Above everything, people need frequent assurance and they need sensory experience to feel assured. HR must maintain a human face and create channels for in-person interaction, both physical and online. Ultimately, HR is about winning the hearts and mindsets of the workers. Not all the technologies in the world can guarantee competitive advantage without the workforce willing to go the extra mile for the organization. The COVID crisis has highlighted the importance of mental health of the workplace. HR has to facilitate access to professional counseling and also ensure mental wellness by formalizing good behavior by the colleagues as well as their bosses. Stress cannot be dismissed as the individual's weakness, and it has to be treated as a workplace issue. Over the next decade, HR also has to square up to the workplace prejudices that color treatment of workers of different genders, ages, and social groups. Women and day contract workers have borne a disproportionate brunt of the COVID crisis and have suffered the worst of the lockdown and restrictions on businesses. In fact, the impact on women has largely gone unnoticed. Many women have lost jobs and income during the past year, much more than men perhaps, as the sectors that employ mostly women have got the short shrift: travel, hospitality, retail, entertainment, and domestic work. Also, women have had the additional burden of care as families have been stuck at home, and even children's schooling has moved online. It is important, therefore, to learn from this experience and ensure a level playing field for all. There has never been a greater opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, for HR to shine, and this crisis has offered HR an opening to sit on the strategy table and make and take big decisions. It may once in a lifetime be the opportunity for HR to lead business transformation. It is a chance that HR must not miss. Now, while I have used the word HR several times, let me at the end revert to something that our late chairman used to always talk about. He used to say that HR is not the HR department's role. HR is every manager's role. With these words, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you 2 exciting days of discussions ahead. And once again, compliments to the organizers for putting together a very interesting program, which will, I'm sure, be very useful. Thank you.
Grateful thanks to you, Mr. Singhania, for your presence and insightful and inspiring inaugural address. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we come to an end of the inaugural session.